Hello, welcome to the Business Spotlight. I'm Garry Crosby. I'm delighted to be spending some time this morning with Charles Walker. I'm not going to tell you anything about Charles because that's his job, but thanks for spending some time with us this morning, Charles.
More than welcome, sir. More than welcome.
Good. Well, let's get a bit of background, a bit of context. Tell us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for, Charles.
Name is Charles Walker. I still class myself as a recruitment consultant. Always have done. I've been in recruitment since 1995, and I own and run a recruitment company called Focus Search and Selection, which is a boutique specialist financial service and professional services recruiter. 19th year and 6th month. So we'll celebrate 20 years on September the 12th, and we will party like Vikings for sure. It's been a great journey and discovery. So I'm looking forward to very much celebrating that landmark.
Yeah. I mean, that is a great landmark in business. And what that says in that little tick over in the back of my mind is that you've seen through the recession, you've seen through the pandemic, and there's going to be some lessons from that. But I don't want to start there. I want to ask you about some really bold imagery. There's eagles and there's lions on the website, and you talk about changing the way people think about recruitment. Tell me what's different about Focus.
Yeah, and it's been a journey to get there.
Mm.
My preferred style is just being authentic and being honest and put people at the center of what we do. So we're
Yeah.
very much personalized. Yes, there's a commercial element of it. We want to make money, but the needs that you require for your career are way above the needs I require for my bank balance. So we're really client and candidate centric. It's not about making a buck. It's about getting the right decisions for the candidates and the clients. And I truly mean that in a heartfelt way. It should never be. We should never trade someone as a commodity. It should just be about, is this the right opportunity for them to fulfill what they want to fulfill within their career? So that's kind of like the ethos of Focus. We care about the individual.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's why you've got the eagle and you've got all of the wonderful imagery that we managed to get onto our website.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. And the recruitment industry as a whole. I mean, I've coached recruitment consultants in the past, and there's this kind of sense that you can, as a recruitment consultant, do an awful lot of work and end up with nothing. Is that the model for the future for the recruitment industry?
It's a shocking model. If you
It
think about
is.
it like it literally we can do everything, and at the end of 3 months, so we can get a vacancy, fill the vacancy. That process takes 4 to 6 weeks. They may have 3 months, 90 days, or 30 days notice period.
Yep.
So we can, in some cases, wait until month 5, and then we've got a rebate process. If a person leaves because something happens in their life within a week, a month, then you get your money rebated. So
Mm,
all the risk is at the front end with the recruiter. The
yep.
clients don't see it like that. They see that effectively we've recruited them a pup, someone who's not good for their business. They
Yeah.
want their feedback straight away. So as a business model, it ain't the brightest to be a permanent recruiter. I guess the guys that have done it really well, they get the temporary, the contractor recruiters, then they get the passive income coming in. But
Mm,
my model's different. We've gone down the permanent route, which causes us some hills and some valleys sometimes, but in 19 years and a half, we've only had 7 rebates in all that time. So it's about getting the right fit,
yes.
cultural, environmental, mental, getting that fit correct at the front end of the process to reduce the back end rebates.
Mm. Yeah. So if you could wave a magic wand over the recruitment industry, would there be something that you would change, or do you think it is a sustainable model?
Oh, it's a very good question, Garry. I'd rather you pass it on to someone else, but I'll try and have a stab at it.
Have a go.
Yeah, the institutional organizations, those of size, have got so many internal recruiters now. So
Mm,
we've been squeezed out as an external, we've been squeezed out by that market. So we really play now more in the SME market, the
yeah.
talented organizations that are growing, which is 4.2 or 5.2 million SME companies in the UK. So it's a big market to play.
Yeah.
I think we need to make sure we get our value proposition out stronger, that companies are looking for genuine partners to be their external source. So it's about the relationships and the value within the relationships that we need to work on rather than being a transaction. So
Mm,
we need to give more to get more is
yeah.
my considered view.
Yeah. Interesting. And again, I saw on your website lots of highlights around diversity and inclusion, equality, and things like that. How does that come out in Focus's work?
Yeah, I've got albeit a diversity expert, a guy called Milton Miller, who for years worked at IBM. And
Mm,
it's really important for us that everything we do from a neurodiversity, from a diversity aspect, we get that element right. So within our selection process, and more importantly, with the clients that we choose to partner with, that has to be at the fore of their mind.
mm,
Because if it isn't, and they can't document that to us, then we simply choose not to work with them.
yeah.
So yeah, we just can't afford to, because the world's changing, it's changing rapidly. And I think people have to be open-minded to the fact that no one's even, and it's not fair. And we need to help people who've had a different backstory, who've had struggles through,
Yeah.
like my daughter suffers from dyslexia, and I've seen the challenges she faces in the workplace because she's treated like a sheep dip. Everyone treats her the same way, despite her
Mm,
having some learning challenges, reading and all that. So yeah, we try to make sure that our clients are really fast, middle, and center on the big things, neurodiversity and diversity at every aspect.
mm. And you and I worked a long time ago for the Royal Air Force, and they got themselves into a bit of trouble, didn't they, around setting targets and maybe a little bit
Yeah,
of tokenism they were accused of
yeah.
and stuff like that. How do you guard against that when you're,
It's,
doing
it's
important work in equality and diversion?
Yeah, it's a real. Me and my dad was in the Air Force for 24 years. I was in it for 6 years. So I'm a brother for 12 years. So, and we really had a fierce debate about that,
Mm,
because when you look at it from the external perspective, the Air Force or forces were saying we're underrepresented in this group, and
mhm,
therefore we've got to be more lenient towards those in the future at the expense of that group. And
mm,
I'm like, it's a really difficult one, because for
yeah.
years behind the scenes, we've been handed that card as a black man in this country. We've had barriers put in front of us, which sometimes we weren't aware of. And now they're saying we want to get a balance. I can
Mm,
understand it from the non-ethnic minority perspective. Thinking, well, hang on, it should be about the right person, and I get that also. So it's
yeah. Yeah.
deeply complex, deeply complex. So I just think we need to accept that there's a group of individuals who have been disadvantaged historically, and therefore we should have some understanding that their challenges may have been more difficult.
Mm, yeah, understood. I mean, I think back to my Air Force time, and a good friend of mine who was an extremely professional aviator was thrown out of the Air Force because he was gay. I mean,
Oh,
it sounds preposterous now,
yeah.
but back in the late 80s, it was the done thing. I know.
Well, it's horrendous. I saw
I'm
some.
glad we've moved on.
Yeah, I saw some friends at reunion 2 years ago, and they've got bloody beards. Couldn't sorry, they've got beards. I couldn't believe they've got absolute beards. We couldn't have a beard. I couldn't go onto the swap, and I would have been the
No.
state warden would have charged me immediately without my
Yeah.
little kit. So times have changed, and that's life. We just got to accept that times have changed, and we're in a better place than we were when I joined in. I don't know when it was 40 years ago. It's
Yeah.
the
Wow.
world's moved on. Yeah, the world's moved on.
Yeah. Now, all that time that you've been in it, as we said at the start, there was a recession in 2008. We've had the pandemic and things like that. Looking back on those times when you kept going with focus and you kept focus in business and you kept delivering for your customers, what do you think are the key lessons from recession and pandemic that kept you going?
I It's a very painful memory of me. So if I think about Credit Crunch was absolutely
Mm,
flying. In 2007, we just signed on some major clients like Barclays, Santander, some blue chip
wow.
company.
Mm,
And we were doing really well. Profits were really good. The team were all making the right levels of bonus. And I was in Antigua every year with the family. And if I thought I
yeah.
cracked it. I really did think I cracked it. I came back from one of my holidays, and the market just went overnight. The rug was pulled, and
Mm,
all of our big clients were saying, "No, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you." I spent 3, 4 years, 5 years building to get into those big companies, and I remember getting a phone call from a good friend who was at KPMG as one of their management consultants. He rang up and said, "Charles, where are you?" I said, "I'm sort of like licking my wounds in Felby in sort of like
mm,
South Lancashire. Do me a favor, get on a plane, come over to Portugal and have a round of golf with me, and I'll give you some advice. Bring your records along, Charles." Went
wow.
along, played the golf, sat down, had a few sharpeners, and then he just said, looking at it, you need to cut quick cut deep. Go
Yeah.
back to the UK, get rid of 6 people immediately.
Wow.
This isn't an overnight thunderstorm. This is going to be a long period of time. It's deep rooted. You
Hmm.
need to go back to maybe 2 of you, and then you'll be fine. I came back, I looked at my team. I didn't tell them that bit. I just said, guys, we need to go down different rabbit holes because it's going to be really complicated there because the financial service market is done, but the other markets like FMCG
Mm.
and et cetera, would be still viable markets, thinking that we could go in there and, and make a break-even model.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
and we couldn't. We tried for 5 months. Within that 5 months, I lost just shy of £250,000 in wages and cost. Uh, if I could roll back the clock now, I would have, sadly, with a heavy heart, have taken the
Mm.
advice from the KPMG guy. It would
Yeah.
have it would have saved me a lot of pain and money. So that's a real big learning curve for me.
Mm. And the pandemic, was that different in a way? Did it feel like it was always going to be temporary? Did you act in a different way when you realized that the world was closing down like it did?
Yeah, I mean, the government scheme was excessively generous in my view. So it enabled us to just take some of the cost out of the business, which was the biggest issue. I've got wages and people not working. So
Yeah.
that if anything sort of like made the transition through COVID easier.
Mm.
But so we survived and we actually made very good money during COVID because our clients are predominantly financial.
Right.
When the country's in a mess, the rich get richer, and therefore they need to hide money better. So there's better tax products that we represent companies that do tax schemes for the rich. So
Hmm.
it became easier for us to get
Mm.
placements, but higher price. So that wasn't a concern for me at all. But what was a concern when we came back, when I brought the whole team back, their mindset was about we've been on garden leave, effectively, call it, for 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just couldn't re-engine. They just couldn't re-engineer themselves. They were
Mm.
their desire to work well had diminished.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a surprise.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. So on that basis, we had to take some performance measures to
Mm.
make sure we had the right people in the business for the right time. And sadly, 2 or 3 of them had to leave because it wasn't the right time for them.
Mm. And now, one of my clients, I mean, a lot of my clients are recruiting. Obviously, most businesses are still doing that. And I'm getting reports. They're saying, well, what we're getting is, extraordinary demands for salaries that just don't seem realistic, or, really fixed demands for flexible working and
Yeah,
the right to work from
yeah,
home, things like that. How are you seeing that in your part of the industry at the moment?
yeah. This is the worst it's been
Mm.
outside of the recession. It's There's 2 factors pushing it. We've got 1 million people have left the workplace since COVID. So
Yeah.
age between 50 and 64,
Mm.
they they're not coming back. They've made their money on buy to let market, or they've got big pension funds, but
Yeah.
they're not coming back. So we have a real shortage of talent in the
Mhm.
marketplace. And for us, we've lost more money this quarter outside of the recession than I've ever lost. And that's around about the counter offer. So we have candidates going in to resign, getting a reasonably good uplift of 15% from the new company,
Mhm.
and the company giving them 20% to stay, or
Mm.
or changing the terms of reference about working from home. We've had companies in London who've had you've got to be in the office 5 days a week, switch to a 3 and 2 in the favor of the 3 at home immediately when someone resigns. So the retention of talent is
Wow.
so important at the moment. And
Mm.
then effectively what you alluded to at the start of this conversation, sadly, we get paid as an outcome at the end. There is no
Yeah.
money up front. It's an awful model from that perspective because we carry all the risk. All
Mm.
yeah. So
Mm.
it's difficult. And I can understand companies now. Why wouldn't you want to retain your talent? To go and get someone to replace the person that's gone, it costs you fivefold. It's just a big investment.
But what do you think about I mean, it always occurred to me when I was in corporate that if you make up your mind to leave a company and the company goes, wait, we'll give you 20% and change your terms and conditions, and you go, okay, great. But the reasons why you decided to leave, broadly are still there. It might be that you're unhappy with the work that you're doing, or unhappy with the boss that you've got, or something like that. And of course, you take the benefit of having that counter offer, and then suddenly all those reasons are still there.
I think there's enough research to suggest within a year of being counter offered, there's some high number, I think it's 66% have left that company.
Wow.
It's a high number. And I say to my consultants in the business, we look for 3 reasons outside of money why you should leave. If
Mm,
it's money, then they're going to get counter offered. If it's the geography is not right, I don't like my boss, the environment, the culture, then we've got something to play back to them. But
mm,
we expect every candidate to be counter offered now. So we deal with the counter offer at the start of the process.
mm-hmm.
And so far this year, every candidate bar 2 has been counter offered, because primarily we're headhunters. We don't work
Yes.
off advert candidates. So therefore, by definition, we're talking to people um, who are largely successful in their
Mm,
current organization. So why wouldn't you want to retain a successful person?
yeah. Yeah. True. True.
Difficult.
So Focus has been around, as you say, for coming up for 20 years. I
Yeah.
mean, where are you looking to take the business in the next few years?
Wow, what a huge question that is. I've got it's turning into a real family business. And I don't just mean that
Mm,
biological family. So I've got 2 of my kids and my wife work in the business.
brilliant.
And my operations director's been there for 18 years. My associate director's been there for 13 years. And it almost feels like a collegiate feel to the business, that we
Mm,
are friends, we're family. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get it into a position where it works without me being the sole person within the business. At the moment, the focus is on me directing and driving it.
mm-hmm,
Like to educate and develop people whereby the processes do that for them. And
mm-hmm,
then it becomes about a management of processes rather than it being about Charles's network or my ability to go and meet new people. It's got to move away from that, or else I'll end up in the business forever.
mm,
And you hear people like Jim Collins talk about working in the business or working on the business.
yeah, good.
Yeah, and it's a big thing for any entrepreneur to try and understand. If I'm doing the daily grind of working in the business, I can't do the strategical bit of working on the business,
Mm.
and that's the challenge we all face.
It is, and I would say that my clients who are in that position, who are they're thinking about the legacy that they're going to leave behind. They're thinking about whether they're going to sell it or hand it over to a family member, or maybe have an employee buyout or something like that. But there's always that sense that the biggest challenge for them is letting go. Is it going to be something you feel like you can cope with, to let go in the way that you've described?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. My view is I want to be in Antigua within 2 years for 3 months of the year. So,
Nice.
so, so I have to have it in a place where the business can function on its own. But we're recruiters. As long as I've got Wi-Fi, I can work from anywhere. So
Mm,
I,
mm,
I would like, I guess, in my heart of hearts, I'd like to build a business model whereby the incumbent team can have exactly the same benefits I want. I would love an opportunity for them to be able to hit target and have the rest of the year off. If you hit target in month 7,
yeah,
have good months or fill your boots. I
yeah.
want it to be really
Wow.
environment, which is a really high performing environment, but the benefits match that by giving them the freedom to do what they want to do in their lives.
Mm.
We're 8-man business. It's small, it's boutique. We should be able to write our own forward story as opposed to be
Mm.
governed by our backstory, so to speak.
And can you see any kind of significant obstacles in the way, or challenges in the way of you achieving that goal of, stepping back and being in Antigua for those months?
Can I see any obstacles for that? Myself is probably the biggest obstacle. If I don't get a process which works without me being at the epicenter of it all,
Mm.
I'll always be working in my business.
Yeah.
So I'm working with a couple of people to help me understand the value of process and
Mm.
do the analysis around how do we win work and how do we retain our work, and try to extract me from both of those equations, and how do we do it without me.
Mm.
If we can get to that sustainability, and then it's around about growing people. We're light on education within our business, so I need to make a commitment to educating the team to
Yeah.
become better and to become more knowledgeable about their specialisms and the art of recruitment. There's someone told me there's 42 or 43,000 recruitment companies in the UK. So there's a bundle of them. You know,
Wow.
yeah, it's just, and we're just one of, and companies have choice. So we need to make sure we're in the right position to be chosen for the right values and ethics and principles and
Mm.
all sort of words
Yeah.
that they have.
Which is really clear in everything that you put out. You know, I'm looking at stuff on LinkedIn, looking at the website, the values and the vision come out. And I was thinking about leadership. You know, you've been at this a long time. You've had teams of various sizes, even though they're, as you say, it's quite a small team. If you were looking back on, 20 years ago, thinking about the Charles back then and thinking about what good leadership looks like and how you need to be as a leader,
Mm.
what kind of lessons have you got from that?
Loads. So I'm not a good leader. So let me just be clear on that. I'm a business owner who was a good recruiter. I was
Yeah,
numbers wise would suggest that I'm okay at the game of recruitment.
yeah.
Started the business, and I kind of guess the biggest mistakes I've done was I should have put in a strong manager from day one, not a manager by number, a manager by inspiration, a manager by coaching, by
Yeah,
developing people.
yeah, yeah,
I kind of like I didn't have that. And then what I tried to do, which is for anyone who's getting the business, one of the big bits of learning curves I've had is get the right people doing the tasks that they enjoy.
mm,
What I tried to do, I've tried to tweak people to do bits that they don't even enjoy. And they all say, I can do that, or I'll give it a go, Chaz. Don't worry, I'll try my
yeah,
best. But that's kind of like not a culture of, not a winning mindset. People do more if they enjoy what they do.
yeah.
And it's simple as that. And it took me maybe, it's cost me maybe £1 million to understand that over the years.
Wow, wow,
Because
wow.
well, you paid out wages and you've lost the cost of loss of opportunities.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just a massive number because I didn't have the right people on the right seats on the bus. True. So
yeah. Back to Jim Collins.
yeah, and he's right. He's absolutely right. You know, the bus will find its way there, but just
Yeah.
get the right people doing the things that they enjoy doing,
Mm.
and then just go. And leadership, I should have had a really, really good first line coach
Hmm.
in 2006 when the business was making really good profits, and then grow out from there. But it is what it is. You live and learn. So
Mm.
we move on.
Mm. I wanted to touch on the idea of recruitment as marketing, and I didn't have this in the list of questions I was thinking about, but it
Yeah.
popped into my mind as you were speaking there, because sometimes I see people attempting to recruit with what would be a list of roles and responsibilities in a job advert, and I often think that recruitment is about marketing yourself and your company and inspiring people to come and work for you. Do you see that much? I mean, are people using it as a marketing exercise rather than just a pure trying to find a person?
Yeah, more so. If I looked at my in tray in any given my inbox any given week, I will have the majority of them will be either ATS CRM well, competitors to the platform we use,
Hmm.
or will be marketeers saying a number of factors. It will be with SEO. We've seen that your website isn't linked to this, and it could give you this much of a return
Yeah,
to now the latest ones is we could do some LinkedIn marketing for you,
yeah,
and we can have you on LinkedIn every week, every time, one time with something pressing every day to get your brand up. And I think there's merit in all of them. I truly do. It's a game that we've played on multiple times over the 19 and a half years, and we've not yet once got a return on our investment. Not
mm,
once. And
it's
that
interesting.
yeah, because what it is it's a marketplace filled with lots of people who are
Mm,
giving you lots of offering, and therefore you go with one and you just end up getting your fingers burnt because ultimately, in a really tight recruitment market like we are now, my experience of that is that it's about the depth of the relationships that you can cultivate with your candidates and clients
yeah.
that gives you a better chance of being successful.
Mm. Really interesting. Really interesting. So let's think about those small business owners that are out there.
Yeah.
Most of my clients, I'm looking up at the list, most of my clients fall into that sort of bracket. What's the best piece of advice that you could give that group of people about how to find the best candidate for their business?
Have a sense of clarity about what the purpose of your business is.
Mm,
And then one thing the mistakes I've made is I've brought people in who are purely motivated by money, and we offer a very good pay plan in terms of the variable pay,
Hmm.
and they are focused on that, and that's counter to what we are as a business. So understand the people in your business, make sure their motivations are aligned to your purpose, or as an individual and as an organization. Get
Mm.
that alignment right, and make sure intrinsically their values are similar to yours around behaviors, because if not, there's just this disconnect that I find.
Mm.
And in finding the right people, I'd really be at the front end of the process. I would have a really robust selection process. And I would probably suggest they use some sort of psychometric profiling within that,
Yeah.
particularly
Oh, sorry.
no
That's
problem.
really good. We're going to have to start that little bit again. I thought I'd had that on super mute. Jeez.
No worries.
Oh boy, error. Shall I just ask the question again?
Yeah, ask him. Yeah.
What was it?
Small business owners, what would you
Small
suggest?
business owners.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Charles, something that came into my head as you were speaking there was that this crowd of small business owners are facing lots of different challenges in recruitment at the moment. What would be a great piece of advice for them as they try to find the right people for their business?
Yeah, if it's a long-term hire, then my suggestion would be that they match the characteristics of the individual with the values and the purpose of their business. There needs to be an alignment within that, because
Yep.
if not, you end up pushing against the closed door. You want their intrinsic values to be similar to yours, in my view.
Yep.
Loyalty, smaller the business, the more loyal you need somebody to be.
Yeah, that's true.
I would invest £100 in any one of the online profiles about the person's deeper characteristics, particularly in an environment which is a small environment whereby there's degrees of pressure, because people often leave their manager rather than leave the company.
Hmm.
So you need to make sure straight away that that person in any event is more aligned to your mindset than not, because it's a small business. Singularly, the most important thing is the people within your business. Undoubtedly, that's the biggest cost for most of us within our business. So we
Yeah.
need to make sure we get it right. Would be my
So,
advice.
yeah, sorry. I sometimes say to my clients, you can recruit on skill or attitude. And if you recruit a highly skilled person who's got the wrong attitude, that's going to cost you a lot of time and effort. So why not, recruit the best attitude, the best values you can, and then the skills can potentially follow on.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I play a lot of football still to this day, do a lot of walking football. And I've always been of view that I'd take someone with the right attitude
Yeah.
over their aptitude. And
Mm.
I'd rather take someone who's honest, transparent, and who's prepared to learn and prepared to graft.
Yeah.
I do like someone who grafts and outwork. In the small business, we just simply have to outwork the other small businesses.
Yeah. That's great advice. That is a really good piece of advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've got. Whether it's, I say to my kids who are two in my business, they both play football. Turn up early, sweat more. Here's another one I always use to the kids. I'll tell them, sweat more in training, bleed less in war.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We need to work harder, and then the
Mm.
results will become easier.
Mm.
And that's what everything that we do in life. So, it's hard. Being a small business is hard. Understand your market would be my view. Understand, I do a regular SWOT analysis. I do a SWOT analysis every 3 months.
Yeah.
I look at where we're strong, where we're weak, where the opportunities are, where the threats are, who our competitors are, and how much money are they making? How many placements are they doing against me?
Mm.
And
Mm.
why are they doing more placements? And what do we need to do to bridge that gap?
Yeah.
That's an ongoing process every quarter, because it only takes one good client for us to make a lot of money.
Hmm.
We need to be constantly looking for that one good client.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's great advice. Great advice. We used to say, train harder than you fight in the Air Force.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
same
100%.
thing.
Yeah. 100%.
So let's finish off with just a view of what's coming up in focus. Is there anything you want to share with the viewers about what's happening in the business, or if you've got any events or anything coming up?
Yeah, we've got a few golf events coming up in the summer, which we're
Sign me up.
absolutely, yeah, we're absolutely delighted to. We've actually got now 4 reasonably good golfers in the business, so we've
Right.
we put ourselves into about 4 tournaments so far. we've got a five-a-side football team, which is really, really good. So we're
Right.
going down the sporting route, and we're kind of like we're okay at pool these days. So on a serious note, we've got some real good campaigns coming up, which are more scientifically based. So we're looking at organisations that are that necessarily we wouldn't go to. So we've got the SIC codes of those businesses.
Mhm.
We understand about their profitability, about whether they're private equity based, whether they're where the money comes from that drives it, and we've got the decision maker. So we're doing a targeted marketing strategy based
Mhm.
through relationships, be it second or third relationships, to support us to get in front of the right people. So, which I'm really excited about because it's a low cost, but it's a high outcome possibility for me. So it just involves more time, which I've got a lot of, fortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a bit of sports and a bit of looking at how we can make ourselves better as a business and more effective and efficient is kind of like where I'm focused for the next 6 months for sure.
Exciting times ahead.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's a tough market though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really tough market, and we've got some battle scars there that we need to we need to sort out. But yeah, we're up for the fight, which is the most important bit.
Great. Charles, some great lessons there. I mean, there's some stuff there for every single small business owner, both in terms of how you've led your business through the last 20 years and how the marketplace is changing as well. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate you joining us on the Business Spotlight.
More than welcome. Wonderful to be again. Thank you very much for the questions and the opportunity. Just to hopefully it gives some help to somebody. But it's a tough market, but we just keep moving forward.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks, Charles.
Okay.